Meet me.
Endings are so boring, don't you think?
Alright, boys. She's finally here. Fairytale Tenebria. She is a limited hero, and bafflingly, she's yet another ice limited. So just look at this background. Doesn't she seem more like she'd be an Earth unit? I mean, she's in a forest. She's throwing tea parties. Have you ever heard of anyone having a tea party in an ocean? So that's kind of ridiculous, but whatever. I mean, this is our third Tenebria. We all know Smilegate has a hard-on for Tenebria. Both Fire Tenebria and ML Tenebria have skins, and now there's a third one. And I'm sure in 6 months there will be a fourth Tenebria. It will be like Forest Tenebria or something like that, who knows. But it's all good because she looks pretty awesome. So let's go ahead and take a look at her skills and her kit, and let's see if she's any good. You guys know I always give super
마법으로
objective
만든
reviews. It doesn't mean I'm always right, but it is an honest impression. So let's look at her stats first. So obviously she is an ice mage. Pretty solid. Let me just make sure I'm recording my cursor here. I think I am. Her base speed is pretty good, 115, so I feel like a lot of the new heroes nowadays are sticking at this 115 number, like Operator Sigrid was exactly 115 too, I think. Her base crit chance is like average, like pretty low, nothing special. Crit damage, same. Health, defense, kind of on the lower end. Okay, so she does have effectiveness, and her imprint concentration is effectiveness, which is very good. So I'm assuming this is a control unit. I haven't watched this video yet. So I don't think her imprint release is solid, but I don't think you'll use it. It's only 2 slots. I'm guessing she's going to really need effectiveness. So let's take a look at her abilities. Okay, as always, first we'll just watch the skill.
강제로 최대 생명력이 가장 높은 적에게
Okay, so she
스킬을
throws
사용하게 되는
playing cards. That's pretty cool. Oh, it's the same thing from the beginning. So she
결과는
throws
대상자가
a tea
최대
party
생명력이
and
가장
then
높은
pours
적에게
coffee on their
모습적인
face.
새로운
Okay, now let's actually read it. So tea party, 4-turn cooldown, damage mods, lures all enemies in with a tea party and attacks, dispelling 1 buff, making them unable to be buffed for 2 turns, and inflicting redirected provoke for 1 turn. What? Oh, it explains it right here. Redirected provoke. Target attacks the enemy with the highest max health. Whoa! So that's a new debuff, and it sounds freaking awesome. Let's take a look at this skill again.
기본 스킬을 사용하게 되는 약화 효과입니다.
I want to see what it looks like.
적에게
Okay, so these, on the LR Crow and the FCC, they have that weird symbol on them. I assume that's the redirected provoke. So let's see, in a lot of ways, so it's like Basar's S3, except instead of pushback, she gets redirected provoke, and instead of a full cleanse, it's dispel 1 buff. But in RTA, most cleavers will pre-ban FCC anyway, and either way, you can just ban her out even if they do pick her. So outside of anything that does, like a team that doesn't have FCC, on the opener, it's basically a full cleanse unless they have some other random, like one of those Night Barrier artifacts. And it still does unable to be debuffed or unable to be buffed, which is really annoying. And this redirected provoke thing, guys, I think you guys are going to see a lot of meme teams. This might be a meme hero right here, because let's think of some ideas of what you could do with this. Redirect provoke onto ML Ken, and he just let him counter everyone to death. Redirect provoke onto General Purgus, and you give your whole team like an 80% CR push. Redirect provoke into Taranor Royal Guard and just have them cleave themselves to death. Redirect provoke onto regular Water Crow and have him S3 on the first turn. There's a lot of funny comps that this move might unleash. I'm loving it. I'm loving the ability already. Okay, let's move on to her S2. Let's watch it first.
첫 번째 공격 커플은 적 전체를
So it's this
공격할 때
card theme
캐릭터가
again. So
무작위
she,
약할과
that looks
한계를
awesome.
발생시킵니다. 이때
It's really
발생하는
short, but she basically assaults them with a bunch of playing
이때
cards.
발생하는 발생시킵니다.
Poor
이 약할과
unknowns.
한계를 발생.
Okay, now let's read this. Skill 2 Wild Card activates shuffle when an ally is attacked by an enemy affected with provoke or redirected provoke. Shuffle can only be active. Oh, so it's a passive. Shuffle attacks all enemies and inflicts a random debuff for 1 turn. A successful attack inflicts additional damage and target is inflicted with provoke or redirected provoke. And the additional damage scales with the target's max health, so it'll do more damage if the enemy has more max health. So it's almost like an SSB counter, except it's procced by being attacked with provoke. So obviously, if she lands her S3, this will proc the next turn. Unfortunately, it only procs once per turn, unlike SSB. But the thing is, the way I'm reading it, you don't even need to have her do it, because if you pair her with something like FCC, she's always provoking people. So basically, this will proc every single turn at least one, or exactly once. What are the random debuffs? Does it explain? There we go. The random debuff that is inflicted here can be silence, defense break, or unhealable. That's good, because that's a pool of really deadly debuffs. Silence is obviously debilitating. Death break is obviously debilitating. Unhealable, depending on your team, is debilitating or not that big of a deal. Like if you don't have heals anyway, you don't really care about that. But hey, 2 out of the 3 is debilitating against anyone. And it is a 100% chance. Obviously, they can resist it, but as long as she has enough effectiveness, that's a 100% chance. So this looks pretty awesome. Did we see the damage, though? Let's see it against the team. So here we go. This redirected provoked FCC attacks. Whoa, that was a big tick. So from 1100 to 7000. Granted, I'm assuming that FCC is on Aureus, and she's also death broken. So it's really not a huge amount of damage, but look, she silenced 3 of them with it. Actually, no. There was a Broman there. So what did she actually land? She silenced the T-Surin, she got Death Break on Ruel and FCC. That looks like a pretty good skill too, guys. Let's save my final comments for the end. So her S1, this is obviously going to be super basic, so it just looks like Tenebria, all the other Tenebrias S1s. Attacks with a mystical power, with a 30% chance each to inflict 2 poison effects for 1 turn. So I'm going to assume that you don't build her as a damage build, and that's why they're giving her poison. 2 poison effects means that she'll be able to do a lot of damage with her S1 without any offensive stacks. I don't know if you guys have ever had multiple poisons on you. One way you might have seen it is if S10A turn cycled you and she landed 2 poisons on you. Poisons freaking hurt, guys. Poisons hurt. So this is a pretty solid S1 for what it is, and she can soul burn for an extra turn. Granted, it's only a 45% chance, but since she has 2 chances to proc, odds are she'll land 1. And if she lands, and this might actually make her good at PvE too. Say bye to Curious and just use Fairytale Tenebria in Abyss. So I think there's only one more thing to look at, which is her artifact. And then let's move on to my final thoughts. So Fairytale for a Nightmare. I'm assuming they had this in the demonstration. Level 1, if a caster attacks when it's not their turn, deal 750 damage at max 1500 fixed damage. And it's only for mages. I mean, if Ranger could use this, like put this on SSB, that'd be pretty beast, but this artifact, I mean, it's true damage, right? It's true damage, and this only further facilitates the idea that you're not supposed to build her as a damage build, because obviously I don't know what her multipliers are, and a lot of people always be like, what are the multipliers? What are the multipliers? When you have an artifact like they make the artifacts tailored to how they believe you should use the hero. Clearly, they don't want you to use her as a damage dealer, because as a true, like a high attack, high crit damage build, 1500 fixed damage is a joke. You're aiming to do like 20,000 damage, right? So clearly, this is some kind of control hero meant to pick away at the enemy team and not blow them up right away. Okay, so how are people going to use this hero? What are my initial thoughts? Is she a must pull? I mean, first of all, she's a limited hero, so in my eyes, she's a must pull no matter what. You guys saw what happened to Landy. I mean, I thought she was okay to begin with, but after the buffs, I think she's considered meta now. Like with that speed buff for the whole team and everything, she is nuts. And they can always do the same thing with any other limited hero. And if you miss the boat, you don't have an opportunity to fill that hole in your kit for another year. So by default, she's a must pull. So I think the way people will run her is speed effectiveness. Now I don't know the multipliers. Maybe you can nuke with her, but I don't think anyone will, because you could have made that same argument with like Briar Witch Isseria, right? Because DS3 is somewhat similar, like a dispel with an unable to be buffed. But I don't think people are going to do that. I think you're going to use her as a control unit because this is pretty devastating. Because in RTA, like FCC hard counters this, but FCC hard counters a lot of things. Just ban her out. In RTA, if you make her fast enough, I mean, granted, she's 115 speed, so she's not as fast as a super fast initiator like Cerise or something, but 115 should be enough in most cases. Depending on a draft, you're going to go first if you give her speed gear. And if they don't have FCC, you can strip off immunities, you put unbuffable on them, which is really annoying, especially for teams trying to run DN or something, and you force them to attack your tankiest target for one turn. So basically, you deny them their entire first turn. That could be devastating. The one problem I see with this ability, not counting FCC, just I assume you'll pre-ban that, is that this becomes fairly obvious because I think the redirected provoke, if you have a true cleave team, what are you going to bring? Like you're going to bring 4 cleavers and like a general Purges or an ML Ken. That thing you're going to bring gets kind of awkward unless you want to make like a high HP Cerise, make her go first or give herself the invincibility and then redirect everything onto her. Like I think if you're trying to control cleave, it makes it awkward. If you're just going to do a full-on control comp, you might struggle if they have certain things built like DJ Bazaar or Ray. I mean, granted, almost no one has Ray built, but hey, maybe this is an indirect Ray and DJ Bazaar buff. I mean, Cerise is everywhere now. Maybe we'll see Fairytale Tenebria. DJ Bazaar and Ray are very good against those heroes. So I'm trying to think, how valuable is that redirected provoke? I mean, I don't care about arena. In Guild Wars, I think this will be super nuts, but I think it'll be hard to find the right target to redirect these provokes into when you're not just trying to meme. And the thing is with RTA, meme comps it's very easy to mess up a meme comp by banning out the right piece. And you can't afford to bring 2 memes here, right? Like you're not going to draft Fairytale Tenebria and then draft like, I don't know, ML Ken and General Purges and be like, haha, because then they'll just ban Fairytale Tenebria and you have a really weird team afterwards. So I don't know. I still think her S3 is pretty nuts. A provoke on the whole team is pretty solid. Um, but yeah, overall, I still think it's pretty good. The S2, I think, is pretty nuts. It's basically an SSB counter, except my assumption is instead of doing damage, it does a lot more debuffs. So it's almost going to be like an RNG hero. When she counters you, if she silences or death breaks the wrong target, you're in a lot of trouble, right? So I think her S2 is really good. I don't think it'll do a whole lot of damage, but I don't think that's the point of this hero. I don't think she needs to do a lot of damage. I'm almost wondering if people are not even going to bother her building her really fast and build her moderately fast, like 220, 230, make her really tanky, and just have her sit there constantly countering people. Like you draft Fairytale Tenebria and like FCC and Crow or something, like something that has provokes, and they're constantly getting worn down by this shuffle and getting silence and death broken so you can one tap them. I think that will be very interesting. Or you could just use her, I think those are two builds we'll see, like a bruiser-ish Fairytale Tenebria, meant to just control you with these debuffs with high effectiveness, or a straight up kind of like Bazaar build Fairytale Tenebria, where they just go super high speed, super high effectiveness, and it's meant as an initiator. So I think my impressions of her are kind of mixed. I think she's definitely has a lot of potential. Like, so if I think a hero's bad, I'll just say I don't think this will be very useful. I think this hero has a lot of potential. I'm very curious to see how people will use her, because the S3, FCC hard counters it, but other than that, I mean, RTA cleavers are pre-banning FCC every time anyway, so I don't think that's much of a problem. Um, I'm just trying to think of a good way to utilize the redirected provoke in a cleave team. I'm sure that there is a way, I just can't think of it because right now, if it gets redirected onto a cleaver, it'll probably just one-shot them anyway. So in a bruiser team, you don't have that problem. But are you going to be able to bring a bruiser in a cleave team? Maybe. I mean, some cleavers do draft FCC, so it's possible. So I don't know. I think the key point about her is no matter how she works, she's going to be a lot of fun. Because I think this is one of the most unique kits that I've seen in a hero. And I think people are going to have a lot of fun experimenting with her. And I'm very excited to see it. In terms of PvE, I think she might actually be really good in PvE because it's kind of RNG ish, but poisons are just so devastating. Like you guys know in Abyss, poisons are the king. So I think even just for PvE, she might be good. And you'll also have the opportunity to defense break people with her. So, I mean, I don't really care about PvE anyway, but I think she'll be solid there. But I think that's my impression. I think since she's limited, you guys, unless you're really starved on bookmarks, should must pull her anyway. I think for RTA, she might be a lot of fun. For Arena and Guild Wars offense, I think both of those contents are just more than enough heroes to succeed in that already. So if you absolutely don't care about RTA and you never plan to do it and you're broke on bookmarks, I don't think you have to feel too bad about missing out on this hero. But remember, we've all seen what Smilegate does with buffs. So you might regret it later. You might not regret it now, but you might regret it later if you pass on this hero. So anyways, those are my first impressions of Fairytale Tenebria. Basically, I think she's pretty solid, but more importantly, I think she'll be a hell of a lot of fun. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Her kit's so unique that it's hard to have a very strong stance on this. The only thing I could say about for sure is I really don't think she'll be a cleaver. I think she's designed to be a control hero, but I don't know her multis. If someone proves me wrong, it is what it is. So let me know what you guys think. Thanks for watching this video. Until next time, peace out, boys.